Well, hello and good evening. Welcome to this episode of Ready for You Professional Wrestling. And it's a very special week here on Ready for You Professional Wrestling. It is birthday week 2024. As me and Ashley have learned that we are birthday week buddies and already had mine this past Sunday. Ashley's coming up here on Saturday. So we're making this a celebration episode of Ready for You Professional Wrestling. Ashley, happy early birthday.
Well, happy birthday again to you as well.
Well, thank you. I gotta say, it was just crazy how coincidental our birthdays are linked together, and we just found this out like maybe a month ago.
Yeah, I know. Like, seriously, what are the odds of that?
Exactly. Two random podcasters coming together for a show and not, oh, hey, by the way, you were born inside the same week. So, yeah, so always fun. So, no better time than the present. Let's catch you up on the news of the week as I hit my control center. And Ashley, my first story for you this week. The WWE is looking to move their PLEs back to 7 p.m. Eastern when they're in the States. And Dana White also said they're going to try and link it up with the UFC on Saturday and the WWE on Sunday. So you might have back-to-back shows during the week and you could get combo tickets maybe? Question mark. What do you think?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think there is some, at least a little bit of crossover between MMA and wrestling fans. So I could see people, especially buying the bundle or something like that, like you mentioned. Um, and it totally makes sense to kind of keep everything uniform, especially if they're going to be going like back to back Saturday, Sunday with events.
I got a feeling that, hey, you can look at these little counts down and go like, hi, instead of just bidding for one show, you can bid for two shows. You can get UFC on Saturday, you get WWE on Sunday, double your revenue when the companies come into town. So I can see this working as long as they don't pair it up with Paraslap, because Dana White did mention that on Friday before UFC, Paraslap was somehow be a thing again.
Yeah, I think outside of the initial kind of buzz around it when it first appeared, I don't think Power Slap was long for this world.
The only way I would ever watch Paraslap again is if Dana White was the one being Paraslapped.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I'm gonna move over to my second news story of the week. As Daniel Bryanson was on the Casual Conversation podcast with the Classic, he mentioned that his contract runs out before All in London 2, but he plans on continuing wrestling full time until we get back to Wrestle Dream and Tacoma, Washington in the fall. And that's where ideally the American Dragon wants to call it an end to his full time wrestling career. But you know what he say never, because I feel like this guy's going to wrestle until he decides he doesn't want to.
Right, I'm not gonna say never because I love him and I don't want him to go. um, I'm going to be very sad. Um, I could like I think for what it's worth, his match at Wrestle Dream last year was I think it was my match of the year last year. I think when we did our end of the year. Um, I think it would be kind of cool to kind of go out on the anniversary of a match like that in your hometown after all he's done here in AEW. But like you said, I'm not gonna say never because I'm hoping he will come back after.
Okay, Ashley, I know it's May 13th after we're recording this episode, but who do you want to be that final opponent at Wrestle Dream for the American Dragon?
Oh man, I feel like there's a few options you could go with. I could see him maybe going with like Kenny Omega again if Omega's back by then. Omega seems to be hinting at being back kind of soon, so maybe something like that. We never did get an actual victor in their match, so it could be a nice one to circle back to.
Or we could get the second of two matches with Nigel McGuinness as Nigel gets his victory at All in London, and at the final full time match of Brian Danielson's career is Nigel McGuinness, and Nigel finally gets his comeuppance for everything he's been saying for the last year and a half about the redneck American Dragon because this feud needs to happen. I mean, there's
Clam
been too
digger.
much. There's been too much by one side. Danielson needs to do something to Nigel at some point.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see it, and I'm kind of in love with Nigel and his one-sided feud right now, Danielson.
I mean, hey, it's my favorite part of Collision every week is to see how he's going to dig at Danielson this week. So let's move on to my next news story. As this one comes out from New Japan Resurgence, if you saw the card on Saturday night, Eddie Kingston had a match with Gabe Kidd, was really good. It was a different type of match. It was a no hold bars, no ropes type of match. Unfortunately, Eddie Kingston is suffered a injury, and I do believe it's to his knee. If you've seen the spot in this match, is the one where they got the table laid across the ring and the barricade. Gabe Kidd goes for the vertical suplex, and there's no way to say it, but Eddie Kingston landed full knee onto the guardrail. The back of his knee hit the top of it, and he just looked like a accordion being wrapped around it.
Yeah, it wrapped right around the top of the barricade, and quite honestly, I would be surprised if he didn't tear something. I'm hoping for the best, but it looked pretty bad.
We just want to wish Eddie Kingston a speedy recovery, and we'll have to wait till Wednesday to see if he's been taken off the card for Anarchy in Arena in 2 weeks. I'm going to say yes, because looking at injury, I feel like he's going to need some time off. And if you saw New Japan Resurgence, the Young Bucks, the EVPs came down there after that match and hit an EVP trigger on Eddie Kingston. So they have a way to write him off from the show. So, like we said, we just want to wish Eddie Kingston a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my next news story for you, Ashley. 54 Weekly is reporting that Sammy Guevara is no longer suspended due to his actions in that match with Jeff Hardy from about February of this year. In this article, it stated there's no timetable for him to come back to AEW. I gotta say, it's time for him to come back, or this company needs to let him go. It needs to be one way or the other. I'm like, either keep him around or you let him go.
Unfortunately, I think you might be right. Um, I feel like Sammy's had plenty of opportunities, and the amount of trouble he's gotten himself into, along with the issues he's had. I know they're not all his fault, but sometimes, it's like, is it worth all of the trouble? And it's very weird to not have a spot for him. Somebody you considered a pillar, like to not be able to find a spot for him. I think kind of speaks volumes.
Exactly, Ashley. So we'll keep you addressed the situation as we learn more in the days coming here on Rave Professor Wrestling. My next news story for you and my final news story of the week. We finally have found the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. We finally know what happened to Ware Yuta, and unfortunately reported by Sean Rossap of Fightful, Ware Yuta is dealing with concussion-like issues since the match back in January. We haven't seen him inside the ring since January of this year. We just wish Ware Yuta a speedy recovery because it's kind of, he's a good talent. I
It's
miss
very
seeing him in the
scary.
ring. And it's a very scary thing. And concussions, no two concussions are the same. They are just, you got to take them day by day, basically. And we just want to wish the best of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's a scary thing to deal with, especially for so long. So hoping he can heal up and make it back soon.
Exactly, because I feel like he was on the crest of being a very big player in AEW. And him inside the Blackpool Combat Club was being very entertaining. And to me, the club still looks good, but I feel like the longer you wait for Yuta to come back, I feel like Yuta's going to have to come back separate from the club, and you're going to have to rebuild Yuta back up.
Yeah, especially since we seem to have a little bit of turmoil with the club this week.
Oh, we'll talk about that later on in our top 5 matches of the week. But this has been your Control
Yep.
Center for May 13th, 2024 here on Ray Free Professional Wrestling. Let's go over to my stunning 6 questions of the week. And Ashley, my first stunning question for you. Do you believe that all the ring on do you believe all the king I can't talk now. Do you feel like all the king and queen ring matches should be on TV? Because the WWE had like 8 matches set up for the first round for Raw and SmackDown side of the brackets for men and women's, and they put a few on the house shows here over the weekend. Personally, I thought that idea of putting these qualifying matches on the house shows was a good idea because you make the house shows feel more important.
Uh, yeah, in a way. I mean, I guess too, it could also help probably like bump, like like obviously like it could probably help with like ticket sales for the house shows and everything. Um, I do think it is weird though to only put certain matches from a tournament on television.
Well, actually, I was watching Friday Night SmackDown. I could surely do with a shorter Logan Paul promo segment. I could at least add one more match on that card for Friday night.
I mean, I could see like maybe doing like the opening round matches at house shows and things like that, and then when you get more into like like the semifinals, like obviously then start televising it. I mean, definitely could work that way, but as long as they kind of like recap and go over with everybody, with everybody, with the audience and everything, I don't see why it can't work.
Well, a few years ago, they would randomly have like title matches and you have title changes at the house shows, and that's the way you get people to come back to the house shows. The next time they came into town, I just feel like this is the same thing they did with the King and Queen Ring of tournament matches. So my next stunning question for you, Ashley. This kind of came to me during the week. Shoto Unamo had a promo segment where he was talking about how New Japan Pro Wrestling, in his mind, has started to become more like an AEW feeder system, and he wasn't happy about it. This was leading to his match with Jon Moxley for the New Japan Heavyweight title. So I thought it was kind of half kayfabe, like this is a way for Shoto Unamo to have some heat going into the match with Jon Moxley.
Yeah, I think those comments were a little more in kayfabe, but I do think we're kind of starting to have this issue where it does sort of seem like a lot of talents from AEW are either kind of migrated over from New Japan or are kind of coming over from New Japan and maybe taking some major losses. We both of us have been saying since they're on Wrestle Kingdom that there is a great young crop of talent that New Japan has, and we feel like they just need to kind of settle on somebody, like to kind of pick their chosen one, I guess, to kind of be the new face of New Japan. Um, whether this ends up being Shota Umino in possibly a rematch with Moxley down the line. We saw a post-match promo from Shota where he ditches the Death Rider's jacket and kind of is like seemingly going to strike out on his own from here. So if he wants to circle around by, I don't know, maybe Wrestle Kingdom or something this year, gives Mox a few defenses, or maybe something up after Dominion. I can't believe Eagles in the challenger, but that's a whole nother thing. But I think I would. I think it would be like a poetic victory for Shota Umino to kind of come back and beat Jon Moxley in order to become like the new top guy for New Japan down the road.
Exactly. Actually, I feel like New Japan's kind of caught in the corner because I know they want to have this partnership with AEW, and we've seen like the Rainmaker Izuka Okada come over to AEW, and literally they have literally put their major title onto a talent that is contractually obligated to AEW for the majority of his time in wrestling, in Jon Moxley. And now it feels to me like it's almost like a farm system. It's like AEW is getting all the benefit here, and New Japan Pro Wrestling wants to get into the North American market more and more and more. They may see this as being ideal, but to me personally, if you look at that crowd for Resurgence, just look at when they pan back out on that crowd. That crowd was probably, they said, the largest they had in that area, in that part of Southern California, for a New Japan Pro Wrestling show. You may need to sacrifice just a little bit of your crowd in order to get your local homegrown Japanese talent over to a North American audience. In the short term, you may lose some fans, but as you build these people back up, you may build a stronger following, and you can actually have your homegrown talent, the talent that is contractually obligated to New Japan, be the main players in your company. Because right now, it's like AEW lights.
Yeah, and like I said last week, like having John Moxley be the IWGP champion, I think if it had been kind of just him at the time when he was crowned, maybe it wouldn't have been so kind of like overwhelming for some New Japan fans, I'll say. Because I do think that even New Japan fans realize like Mox loves New Japan, and even though he is contractually obligated to AEW, like he's going to be there come hell or high water as long as he can be there for New Japan. But with having like the television title on Matt Riddle, with having the global championship on Nick Nemeth, also guys that are not contracted to New Japan, and like kind of like outsiders in a way, I think was kind of making New Japan fans realize like, hey, we have all these championships and none of them are on guys in our own company. Not just the one belt. It's like almost the entirety of some of their belts. Like it was quite a few.
Yes, it was a very interesting start to 2024 for New Japan Pro Wrestling, because at one point you had the heavyweight title, the global title on American Talent, and I was going like, what are you gonna do for these local shows over in Japan when you tour? Like, you don't have a champion. And like normally you would have like the world title or the intercontinental title for New Japan Pro Wrestling main event these cards as you go across the country. And it's just like, dang if you do, dang if you don't. I mean, like, it's this, where do you see your business from the future? Do you want to be strong in your home base, or do you want to try to expand across the ocean? And are they trying to be the number 2, or are they trying to be the number 3 promotion in the world? That's the question they have to answer for themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of part of what's hurting them is they kind of don't have an identity right now. They just had that like big exodus of some of their top stars leaving. They haven't quite settled on who's going to be the next top guy. They've kind of struggled with, not just like booking mishaps, but also just in general, like things like the economy in Japan are not good. So things like that are certainly affecting everything. Kind of like a weird relationship and weird things with like the former president of New Japan. When he kind of got moved out, I feel like there's been like a lot of push and pull and ebb and flow kind of going on with New Japan, and I'm hoping they can kind of navigate their way, because like I said, they have dudes like Shota Umino, they have dudes like Yuya Uemura, Kosaka Fujita, who I'm going to be singing his praises later. Like, they have a crop of dudes who are ready.
Very true, Ashley. Let's go on to our third question of the week, and it's kind of similar in a way. We had one hell of a match on Collision this week with Dax Harwood and Tommy Wellington. There's some fans out there that are wondering why they had Tommy Wellington in the slot on a major TV show for AEW instead of somebody else that was contractually obligated to AEW. Me personally, you're in Vancouver, British Columbia. This is an area that Tommy Wellington is known around the local area. This was a perfect opportunity to have somebody for that arena, somebody in that area to draw people to see him wrestle Dax Harwood, and this match was freaking amazing.
I agree. This is a subject though that I definitely understand both sides of the coin here. like you said, there might be people who aren't that familiar with AEW. Maybe they only, kind of look at local promotions or WWE and make the stuff around them or something like that. And maybe they're like, oh, hey, like he's going to be at, this show and I can go check Tommy out here at the show. It's not a bad thing. Also it introduced me to him. I'm very new to him, so it was very cool to see somebody new. But I also understand the fact of AEW already has a very large signed roster that doesn't get used weekly on television, so it is hard to sometimes justify bringing an independent unsigned talent onto television time when you're not making time for contracted talents. But like I said, it's very cool. So I'm torn. Like I understand, but I like it, so I kind of disregard the understanding.
Okay, so I can see the other side of this argument. I mean, like you said, AEW has a very large signed talent base. And yes, there's a lot of people that are not being used weekly on AEW TV. And to me, it's a fine line. I feel like this match with Dax Harwood was a perfect opportunity. It's like you're in Vancouver. Why not try to have somebody local to that area? But eventually, let some of this talent either be on TV or let them go back on the independent scenes and let them work there to improve to come back to AEW.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the things that was criticized a lot about WWE, and I don't think we should, have any different standards here. You can't sign everybody and then just expect them to not do it. I mean, if they're fine not being out there week to week, hey, more power to them. But I don't think you do all that training and all that stuff to just like sit at home. I think they want to be doing this, so it's tough. So as long as they can kind of balance it and not overdo it, I'm all for like like a once on a collision. Having this local guy come in, especially somebody with such strong ties to wrestling's past. I'll say.
Exactly, Ashley. We're moving on to my fourth question of the week. This was back on Friday Night SmackDown, as the opening segment was Cody Rhodes coming down to meet his next opponent. And who is it? Who could in the world be the next opponent for an American Nightmare? I know it's the United States champion, Logan Paul. And listen to the verbiage from that segment. They're saying champion versus champion. I don't think yet they have decided to make this title versus title. And if you caught me on the Smack Daddies podcast on Saturday morning with Brad the Dad, I was praying to God they would make this title for title so we can write Logan Paul off.
I mean, I could see that. I mean, it would be very weird to have. I mean, Cody win both belts, but I don't see like why not.
Well, see, my rationale for Cody winning this year is because you could have a tournament and run this tournament all the way to around the July the 4th time and crown your new United States champion the week of the July 4th. That to me would make perfect sense. And we can move Logan Paul off to be a special attraction every now and again at the PLEs, and we don't have to see him weekly on TV.
I agree.
But hey, you know what? I feel like this is going to be a dang good match for Saudi Arabia and the King and Queen of the Ring PLE that we'll be seeing in 2 weeks. I feel like they will have a good match. Like I said on the Smack Daddies podcast, even though I don't like Logan Paul as a personality, I got to give the guy the credit. He is good in the ring for somebody who is not a full-time professional wrestler.
Yeah, and working with somebody like Cody should kind of ensure that everything goes smooth, I think.
Exactly. So let's move on to my fifth standing question of the week. As it's being reported that Becky Lynch still is not signed with the WWE to a new contract, and her contract is quickly running out. So, Ashley, we both believe that she's eventually going to sign with the WWE, but we'll play around here for just a second. If you could have Becky Lynch pop up anywhere in the professional wrestling world besides the WWE, where will you put her?
Imagine Becky Lynch in Stardom.
Well, like I was thinking, oh, it'd be kind of cool to see Becky back on the independent scene doing the Mustafa Ali like world tour where she just pops up at random independent companies and like, I'm here to challenge your world champion. I'm just here to make professional wrestling better, that kind of thing. It would be kind of interesting, but
Hon-
I gotta say,
Honestly, I'd love to see her take on like Stephanie Backer, especially after this week's showing. Like, that could be a hell of a match.
yes,
Becky, come
DJ,
let it run out. Let it run out for like 2 weeks. Come have a match with Stephanie Backer, and then hear WWE out about some more numbers. You know, like
I gotta say, New Japan Pro Wrestling has a star on the rise here with Stephanie. I feel like she is somebody that can build their women's division and start her own around. And I would be making sure I had her locked down to a long-term contract because eventually she's gonna be like Julia, and the WWE is gonna look like go, wait a minute, you have her? No, no, no. Let's talk numbers. Let's talk figures. We can work something out.
yeah, she looks fantastic.
Okay, so final stunning question of the week, and I kind of mentioned this on the Smack Daddies podcast on Friday night with Brad the Dad, as the gentleman who is over the Saudi Arabia Sports Ministry is saying he's going to announce sometime before Crown the King and Queen ring event a increase in the Saudi Arabia WWE partnership, and he's looking for either the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania to come to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So, Ashley, which of these two international locations will get the WrestleMania event first, London or Saudi Arabia?
Um, well, I think I put my money on Saudi Arabia if they're actively looking to bring WrestleMania there, because we know they have the money to make it happen. So I can see a very quick turnaround on there.
See, I love the idea of having WrestleMania in London, but like I said on Friday night with the Smack Daddies, I was going to like just follow the money, and if Saudi Arabia wants to pony up the money, they can probably get a WrestleMania to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, the WWE probably has this all worked out logistically for the company. It'd be a fine move. They can do it, no problem. But can you just imagine the travel hassle for the American wrestling fan trying to go to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
Very true. Very true. And I imagine there's quite a few like restrictions and things like that. Plus, that's quite a flight.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a massive undertaking to get the visa, get the flights, hotel, all that stuff that you would literally have to get to go to an international WrestleMania, and especially one located literally halfway around the world from the United States.
Plus, I could not even begin to comprehend what like the hotels there would cost because I have seen photos and seen people talking about like traveling there and stuff like that. It would be extraordinary costs.
Yeah, it would be a bucket list event for you because it would be something that you would have to save money up for a good while, and it would probably be something you could never do again. Okay, so that has been our 76 questions here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling for May the 13th, 2024. Ashley, it's our time. It's our favorite segment of the week. It's our top 5 matches of the week. So, since I already had my birthday, I'm going to let you go first as my gift to you.
All right.
So,
So speaking of the unsigned Tommy Billington appearing on Collision, starting with number 5, I chose Dax Harwood taking on Tommy Billington from Collision. Like I said, I thought it was very cool to see the nephew of the Dynamite Kid come in, and he put on quite a showing with Dax Harwood, who we've seen, I think, kind of kill it in singles competition.
I was watching this match, and through the whole course of this match, I was going like, I want to see Dax Harwood do a single run. This guy is so freaking talented. here he is. He has a match with Okada coming up on Wednesday night, but he's making it believable that he could lose this match to Tommy Wellington while giving Tommy Wellington a lot of offense. And honestly, you leave this match, you think like AEW needs to sign Tommy Wellington to a contract because this guy is so freaking good.
Yeah, I thought he looked great. I no real complaints about his in-ring work. So I'd love to see him come back, even if we've kind of spoken about how it might be tight for TV time. But even if you put him through something like Ring of Honor right now, there's some good singles competition on Ring of Honor, and I think he could kind of flourish there.
Oh, I feel like Tommy Wellington could kill in Ring of Honor. I feel like there's some good talent over there where he can have some hell of matches, and we love the fact that Ring of Honor is where, even in AEW, it's where the basic in ring is the best, and it's like Ring of Honor is your workhorse show.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna piggyback here on your number 5 match of the week because it was my number 5 match of the week too, and we already talked about Dax Harwood versus Tommy Billington, and I got to say, it was one hell of a match. And if you haven't seen it, go back, check it on YouTube, check it on AEW social. It was well worth a watch. And if you want to see Tommy Billington wrestle even more, check out Stampede Wrestling from Canada. That's his home base operation. And I gotta say, dude looks just like the Dynamite Kid. He wrestles just like the Dynamite Kid. And I just love Canadian wrestling. So this is all check marks for me.
Yeah, no, because that's very cool, and he does scarily look like his uncle.
Okay, Ashley, let's move on to your number 4 match of the week.
Okay, so another week, another Will Ospreay match. Will Ospreay taking on Lee Moriarty, also from Collision. I've used all the compliments to Will Ospreay. I'm running out of them, He's so good. I love like all the kind of like smooth transitions between him and Moriarty. And I like the teasing of using the Tiger Driver, but still not quite feeling it after the Danielson incident.
I love how they play that into the story of this match, and even on commentary, they made a mention of it. But he did break out finally the Stormbreaker. I was like, yes, thank you, breaking out the Stormbreaker, Will Ospreay. And literally, I messaged you just after this match going like, we need Will Ospreay versus Shane Taylor. And oh, by the way, next week on Collision, we're getting Will Ospreay versus Shane Taylor. So somebody out there is listening to me, and I want to say thank you.
Yeah, no. I feel like STP are kind of guys that have kind of slowly but surely been working their way up the ranks over the past couple of months, and I'm enjoying it. Shane Taylor is, again, he's another guy who's just killed it at every opportunity I've seen him have, and going against somebody like Will Ospreay next week, I'm very excited. They're gonna tear it down next week.
Exactly. So let's move on to my number 4 match of the week. And it comes from Resurgence, and we already mentioned the lady's name. It's Stephanie Bakura versus Alex Windsor. And I gotta say, this was my favorite female match of the week. And Stephanie Bakura is just a freaking star on the rise. And I gotta say that Mrs. Will Ospreay is dang good too.
I agree, and I'm gonna just throw it in there. This is my number 3, so we can kind of just piggyback again like that. This match is so good. it is hard hitting. They are smooth. I've only seen Vacker like this is maybe a handful of times now, but she has been outstanding every single time. And for me, this was just like eye opening. Like this made me want to go and like find matches I haven't seen before, so I can like check out more of her stuff.
I know, Ashley. This is another 10.5-minute match. And does it feel like 10.5 minutes? It feels like they put so much stuff into this match that it was more like 15 to 17 minutes. And I feel like these two could go another 5 minutes or so, and it wouldn't have done anything to make this match worse. It would have made this match even better. Like, like I said during the 76 questions, if New Japan Pro Wrestling is smart, they got signed her to a long-term contract.
Yeah, after, especially after that performance, you need to lock her down.
So we're moving to my number 3 match of the week. We're saying it in Resurgence. It's Zack Sabre Jr. versus the Ace, the President, Tanahashi. And like Ian Riccaboni said, they wrestled about 83 times in the history of these two gentlemen being in the promotion. And I got to say, I'm ready for number 84. Go ahead and let's have this match again.
Honestly, it was a very good match. Zack Sabre Jr. just continues to, in my mind, be a guy that needs to be in the heavyweight championship picture.
I feel like this was a good victory for Zack Sabre Jr. coming off of his title loss to Jeff Cobb for that New Japan Pro Wrestling TV title. And I'm hoping that this is kickstarting his ascent of the mountain of the heavyweight title division in New Japan Pro Wrestling as we slowly get into the summer here in 2024 and we get around to that G1 time. Because I want to see Zack Sabre Jr. win the G freaking 1.
Yes. I want all the things for TMDK, honestly.
Okay, Ashley, we're moving on to your number 2 match of the week.
All right. So my number 2 match this week, I am not going to speak too much about it, as it is very recent. It's from the Best of Super Juniors today. Well, yesterday, last night / today, depending on where you are in the world. Kosai Fujita. I cannot have enough praise for this dude. He is so good for how young he is. It's insane. And he takes on El Desperado this week on in Best of Super Juniors, and I think this might be my favorite Best of Super Juniors match so far.
Ashley, after you told me about this match, after I get done here on Ray Free Professional Wrestling, I'm gonna go check this sucker out because I know you have an eye for talent and an eye for good matches, and I can't wait to see this. And El Russell is one of my favorite New Japan pro wrestlers, so I know I'm already kind of want to see this match. So we'll see how I feel after I see it coming up here later tonight. Now, my number 2 match came from Raw last week, and it was a King of the Ring qualifying match. It was Ricochet versus Ilya Dragunov, and this was the perfect opportunity to bring Dragunov up to the main roster, and Ricochet was the perfect opponent for him to have this match to introduce Ilya Dragunov to a larger audience, and I was so happy that they gave the victory to Dragunov, while also elevating Ricochet and showing that Ricochet can be a main freaking eventer.
Yeah, some guys can show out even through a loss, and Ricochet, I think, is always one of those guys.
These two guys just beat the heck out of each other, and the fact that Ricochet kind of toned down his offenses a little bit, but still had those high spots where there's a series where he went for a moonsault off the top rope. Dragunov catches him on the outside and German suplexes him onto the floor. I'm going like, geez, that's gonna hurt. But it made Dragunov look like a badass, and I feel like Dragunov is gonna advance through this tournament, and we're gonna get a Gunther versus Dragunov rematch at least the Raw side of the final, as we're going into the actual final for the Kingdom Reign. The semifinal should be on Raw side be Gunther versus Ilya Dragunov.
Yeah, do that.
Trust me, it's easy. It's simple. It's easy booking. You can never have a bad Gunther versus Ilya Dragunov match. And it's impossible. They can't do it. Okay, Ashley, we're moving to your number 1 match of the week. And I got a feeling that I feel like you copied my homework here because I feel like you got the same number 5 match and the same number 1 match that I have.
Yeah, and believe me, my list this week is 21 matches long that I had to whittle down to 5, okay? It took a minute. Too much wrestling this weekend. Yeah. I struggled because I really liked the Brody King match as well from Dynamite, but this Kyle O'Reilly match with Adam Copeland from Collision, fantastic. Um, it's good to see Kyle O'Reilly uh, even be able to compete. We know he had the serious neck injury, so to come back and to compete at the level he has in the few matches he's had since he's been back is crazy. And I think it was kind of everything too. Like the crowd was super into it with the two, like hometown, home country guys. Everybody was. It was like almost like electric. Like it was very cool. And Adam Copeland, dude, what? Like he's so good, and I feel like it's like rediscovering him again at this point since his run in AEW.
Well, I gotta say, I'm so happy that Adam Copeland has had this second run here because I think I've mentioned this on the podcast many, many times now. Me and my brother were at WrestleMania 27 where he had this match against Alberto Del Rio. Then later on, we found out that he has to retire because of the injuries he suffered during that time period. And for the longest time, we didn't think he would be able to get back in the ring. And we've been lucky to have him have a run in WWE. Now we have this run in AEW, and this guy is just killing it. And if all things go well, I would love to see this guy maybe go back to the WWE to do one last match and just end the career there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of people there that they could kind of like work something with. And he has history with. He's got history with so many people, so they could find like a perfect opponent. Maybe another like a last WrestleMania match or something.
Exactly. So, like I said, my number one match this week is Adam Copeland versus Kyle O'Reilly as well. And like you, I had the same trouble. I could easily put the Brody King match here. It was like 1A, 1B. I was like cutting hairs here. And like you, I could literally have like 8 matches on my top 5 matches of the week list here. This was a fun weekend and a fun week of professional wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. Go check out Fast and Super Juniors, everybody, because there's been some good matches. A lot of House of Torture, I'll be honest, but some good matches nonetheless.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. There is one match that I feel like we should look forward to this week, and it's Dax Harwood versus Okada coming up on Wednesday night. Ashley, how much are you looking forward to this match? And I get a feeling that Okada.
I'm very much looking forward to this. I think so too. Like you said, like the Dax's singles match this week with Tommy Fillington was outstanding. I think every match he's had, he's kind of had like this weird, very spaced out singles run in a way, like where he's had a couple of single matches, like maybe a year in AEW, like 2 or 3. But every time, like the match with Pac was outstanding. I kind of would like more Dax singles matches as well, and we've already seen Okada in this character, and this kind of rivalry between like the AEW guys versus the Elite guys. I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen. Although I do think we might get some interference.
I get a feeling we're going to get a little interference from a couple of EVPs because, they get this Anarchy in a Ring match coming up in 2 weeks, and we already seen them at Resurgence. They already took care of one person. They're on a quest to not have this match happen, so they may kind of get involved in this match and give Dax Harwood just a little beatdown, maybe this question mark.
Yeah, I can definitely see something like that. They're going to be targeting him at least throughout the night.
Well, actually, before we let you go here and start your birthday week celebration, where can we find you on the Super Information Superhighway?
I'm on Twitter, and it's at groovy_ash_.
So do us a favor, Saturday, go over to our Twitter account, light it up with a lot of birthday wishes as we celebrate our co-host's birthday. Now, you can always follow the show at www.radiofreepw.com. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok underneath the Radio Free PW handle. And ladies and gentlemen, until we see you next time on Radio Free Professional Wrestling, have a stunning week. And we are top podcasters doing top wrestling podcasting things. Top people out. And birthday people out.